old man's losing his teeth. Protect the
everyone. On behalf, it is April 13th, 2026, and we are having a Board of Education regular meeting. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Apathy.
Here.
Mrs. Decker.
Here.
Ms. Pajeska.
Here.
Mr. Rossi. Here. Mr. Souchaki.
Here, 5 present, none absent. On behalf of the board, I would like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. The board values and encourages public comments on education issues. Anyone having an interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public comments portion of the meeting. And if so, please identify yourself on the sign-in sheet at the rear of the room. A copy of the board meeting agenda is available to review on our website, and we do ask that you silence your cell phones during the meeting. At this point, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Decker,
Second.
second by Ms. Majeska. Any discussion?
Yeah, so we did add executive session tonight. We had discussed it last week at our agenda review and decided to add it back on. We have some things to talk about.
Okay.
So for reasons 122.22 G1 and G5.
All right. All right, anything else? Will the treasurer please call the roll for the amended agenda?
Mrs. Decker.
Aye.
Ms. Pajeska.
Aye.
Mrs. Apathy.
Aye.
Mr. Rossi. Aye. Mr. Souchaki.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. At this point, I'll turn the meeting over to our superintendent for a number of presentations.
All right, thank you, Mr. Souchaki. So we have 3 presentations tonight. So everybody in the room, you don't have to stay for all 3. I know it's a little warm in here. We're not going to complain about that with the winter we had. But we are going to recognize our student leaders first. You know, leadership is something that every person possesses the ability to be a leader, whether they want to be or whether they actually become a leader or not. Some people become really good followers, and the world needs followers as well. But it's amazing to have an opportunity to put our students in a position in which they can develop their leadership capacity, not just here at our school, but representing us across the region. And yes, once you graduate high school and then college or go out into the workforce, you will lead in society as well. So we have Mr. Paul Garish and Mr. Jordan D'Orazio, who are going to speak about our student leadership opportunities. We had one in 6th grade with a student leadership academy that had 6 different school districts come together over at Brooklyn and perform 2 different workshops over there, led by former employee of the district, Mr. Tom Burton. You may remember Mr. Burton. He facilitated that process. And then we also have our CVC leadership, and then we have our first ring leadership cohort. So they're going to talk about all 3 groups. I'm going to stop talking so that we can brag about the amazing things that our students do.
Thank you.
Yep, at the microphone there. Yep.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Garish. I'm the athletic director, student activities and athletic director for the district. And I'm not going to take too much time. Mr. Young said that we are going to talk. That's not true. Mr. D'Orazio is going to talk most of the time. So as Mr. Young did say, we had some great opportunities and continued opportunities for a lot of our students to go through some leadership training. And we're really excited about the way that training's going, the way it's going to continue, and what they're going to bring back in terms of leadership skills to our school. So I'm going to turn it over to Jordan D'Orazio, our student engagement specialist. While he's getting ready here, I'm going to bring all the students who are either in first ring, CVC Leadership Conference, or the academy, the 6th graders that were in the academy. I'm going to bring you all up front. We're going to stand up here, and we're going to make you stand up here when Mr. D'Orazio talks about you. All right? So come on up. Sorry if they stand right here.
That's a stand in order by shoe size, so That's a joke. These are overachievers. They will actually do it.
Joey will organize that.
All right, take it away, Mr. Grodman.
If you could go back to that first picture there, Matt, that was from the CVC Student Leadership Conference. We had every school in the CVC conference was there with 10 sophomores, or some had some juniors. So there was like 26 schools represented. We brought 10 sophomores ourselves. It was an awesome conference at Beechwood High School, and some of our kids are going to talk about that too. So you can go on to the next one. So, Addie, you want to go ahead?
All right.
Yeah.
The CVC Leadership Conference was a great event that brought together student leaders from different high schools to learn and connect. I really enjoyed listening to the guest speaker who gave great advice about leadership and motivation. The workshops helped me improve my teamwork and communication skills, and I liked meeting new people from other schools. Overall, it was a fun and inspiring experience that helped me grow as a leader. And the picture was one of the games we played where we had to take the rope. It was around all of us, and we had to get it out without untangling our arms. So we had to work together and use our leadership skills to be able to get the rope out.
Did it work?
Yeah, it did. It took a lot of tries.
What do you think what were some of the key things that moved you from being all tangled up, we're never going to be able to do this, to we actually figured out what the cheat code was to get untangled?
I think it was just trying, trial and error, trying something and then realizing it was going nowhere and restarting, and then using everyone's different ideas, and everyone just trying to be able to use our ideas together to be able to get untangled with it. Because it was at first some people were just they were just controlling and not listening to people, and then when we started listening to everyone else, it was really easy to get out of the rope.
So when we pull the rope in the same direction, we can actually accomplish
Yeah.
something, including untangling ourselves. Well done.
Yeah, it was really cool to see young kids working together, and I liked how they set up the workshop, because you were only allowed with one other kid from your school. So they were with kids from schools that we don't even really play against in a lot of sports. So it was cool. They got to meet a lot of new people, and like Addie said, they got to work together, and it was just cool how a group of kids, young kids come together and trying to, like you said, pull the rope in that
So how many
direction.
different teams are in the conference?
There's 26, because this was the big, so there's 26
There's
different
26
schools
different
there.
schools
So you saw from
represented
that
from all
picture,
over the
there was
region.
there's over 200
Yeah, it's
kids there.
impressive.
So, we were actually the first school to get there, and the speaker loved us. His name was Ted. We were the first ones there and the last ones to leave, and he kept going on and on about how good our kids were, how just engaging they were, how they already possessed some leadership skills, but it was very cool. I have another quote here from Xander Merriweather. So the CVC Leadership Conference was a very fun experience. The conference was led by Ted, in which we went over very important keys to being a leader. Ted talked about taking action, being able to listen, communicate, and more. I was able to sit with a group that I really liked. Alexis Unger, another sophomore. Leadership conference was such a fun and exciting experience. Overall, it taught us ways to succeed and actually step up and make an impact with certain things. Some of my favorite activities were Family Feud, paper stacking, and holding hands in a rope. They were so fun, yet we all had to work together to succeed in those. The kids had, I think they had, how many different note cards you have? Like 50 different note cards.
It was a pack of them.
Yeah, and they had to stack them in which ways it would be the tallest. You can see from that last picture. And, obviously if you made it too narrow, it would be the tallest, but it wouldn't be as stable. If you made it too stable, it wouldn't be as tall. So that was another cool little game they played and worked together.
So who were all the students that participated from Cuyahoga Heights? You obviously have 4 here.
We had 5 boys and 5 girls. It was Nolan Yunke, James Henley, Xander Merriweather, Nate Melendez, and who was our last boy? I'm trying to remember. It'll come to me. Oh, they have it off the top. Then our 5 sophomore girls were Addie Decca, Kaylee, Sophia Mecklenburg, Alexis Unger were the 5 girls. Yeah. Who was our
I think
5th
it
boy?
was only 8 girls. It was 4.
Or maybe it was 4.
Yeah.
We had 4 and 4. Yeah, I know. You can tell. This was a quote from Nolan Yunke. It said, "Take action, teamwork, and be able to listen and communicate attitude, and I think leadership is what, question was, what did he get out of the conference? All these points allowed for me to see myself as a leader, which I think was really cool, because he kind of came in not knowing if he even wanted or should even be at this conference, and at the end, he was like, oh, I can do this, I'm around people who are like-minded with me, and it was cool to kind of see him, from the beginning, have a different mindset than when he came out.
So for you guys that went to the conference, to this conference, have you taken things or brought things back to school that you maybe have put into practice already, or things that maybe you learned there?
Yes, I'd say yes, because like I feel like I've been able to like use my voice more and be able to like take leader, like be a leader more, like take initiative when like people don't know what to do, or like I've been able to use my leadership skills to like help people and like guide people more in school.
And then the second conference we went to was the sixth grade leadership conference. As Mr. Young mentioned, there was 6 total schools there. I think it was Independence, Brooklyn, one of the Parma schools, and then one of the private schools in the area was one of them. We had 13 sixth graders go. They participated in this conference at Brooklyn High School. Students were asked to step out of their comfort zone and work collaboratively with 5 other schools. And they also did different challenges and games, working together, meeting new people. Finally, students were asked or define leadership and what it means to them, and take the knowledge that they've learned from those activities and apply them to everyday life. Obviously, sixth graders being sixth graders, boys went and sat with the boys, girls sat with the girls. I think the best thing that this conference really did was that the first thing they did after the kids got sat down and comfortable is they made them go talk with other kids for almost the first hour. I think it was even over the first hour. They just made them go talk, introduce themselves, come out of their shell, kind of just, because, everything with the screens in front of us now, kids didn't want to face-to-face interaction as much. And obviously, everyone was at first a little bit tentative. First 10, 15 minutes were kind of quiet, very slow. The gym was quiet overall. And then the last 30 minutes, they had to, at the very end, they had to stop kids from talking because they were just being themselves, and you could see them becoming the best versions of themselves and even just becoming a leader and just talking to people. So that was really cool to see in person. Like I said, at the end, it was cool. We made 2 different posters about what a leader is, or what leadership is. Some of these Sixers really took charge. They made one, and it wasn't the cleanest. It was, they didn't have the colors they liked, so it was cool how they did have kind of like a rough draft one, and then they went back and perfected it, made it really, really nice. That's hanging in my office right now. We're actually going to frame that and put that somewhere in the middle school hall. But I really liked what our kids put, what a leadership is. It's someone who's a leader, or they're empathetic, they're amazing, determined, engaged, reliable, safe, honest, independent, and pleasant. I really liked all those. I think almost every kid came up with a different word, which I thought was cool too. This was a quote from Calvin Gray, one of our 6th graders that went. He said, "I learned that in order to be a leader, you have to be able to work well with others. It's important to listen to everyone's ideas." I think that's a really cool quote for a 6th grader.
Tell us your name.
Catalea.
All right. Tell me one thing that you learned from this leadership conference that you can take with you. One word. Just give me one word. Doesn't be essentially be one word about leadership.
Passion.
Passion. Good one. Name?
Kalia.
Kalia. One word.
Confident.
Confident. Excellent.
She took my word. Hold on.
Super confident. How about that?
Yeah. My name's Anella and super confident.
There you go.
Ava, determination.
Great.
Solomon, motivate.
Excellent.
Mason, engaged.
Liam, and the ability to work with others.
Give you a full sentence. There you go. Perfect.
Jonah, brave.
Great. Excellent. Did you want to sum up this group, in a couple words about how they represented our school district, represent each other, represent their grade? Because we have 6 more years with them, right?
Yeah.
Wait, 7, 8, 9. We do. 6 more years. I could do my math still. 6 more years.
I think it's really cool to see how kids go in and, you know, they're tentative and don't want to open up very much. And even just from, you know, they were so much more excited going back the second time. And it was very cool to see, you know, you already see how much they've grown from the beginning of the first one to the end of the second workshop. And it's a really good group of kids. They're all very nice, very, you know, I'm just excited to see where they can be, like Mr. Young said, in 7 years. Yeah, it's a great group of kids, and I'm thankful that I get to be with them and get to go with them to these things. It's very cool.
Parents, I would throw this out, family members, thank you for what you're doing, because
Yes, very much so.
we took these kids to places that they really didn't know. They were with people they didn't really know, and they represented themselves. They represented our school. They represented our community. They represented your families very well. So thank you for what you're doing raising these kids, because it was awesome. So we appreciate all them. I'd like to give them all a hand. Nice job, you guys.
Yeah. So our last leadership group I've spent the most time with, it's 4 sophomores, Joey Chahaki, Kaylee Rush, Ariana Wittingen there, and Drayden Whitlow. Those 4 sophomores, they come, I think starting in, it was October. We went to Cleveland, we go to Cleveland State once a month. We meet with, I think there's 15 schools neighboring Cuyahoga County and the Cleveland School District. And we meet with these other schools for, you know, peers, their same age, and we go over challenges that face each district. And it's cool to see, you know, how our district is so different from a lot of these other ones. And our kids are, you know, it's really cool. They go branch out, see, you know, what's different at your school. Oh, we don't have that. We don't have those challenges here. Oh, but we have different challenges than you guys face. So it's really cool to see kids making these connections, making friends for life. Too. Ariana's met. I mean, how many friends did she meet there? She's very outgoing and has a lot of connections. Meeting all these different people. And then in November we went down to Columbus and did the same thing with the Columbus local area kids. And it was very cool. You know, same thing. Met with these kids, what challenges they face. And then the guest speaker that day was Erin Gruwell. If you don't know her name, you may know the movie Freedom Writers. It was really big, Hilary Swank movie where she, you know, she's a teacher at inner city school in California. She was the keynote speaker. She was awesome. She showed clips from the movies. She really got, you know, really I think hit a chord with some of these kids and showed, you know, maybe the challenges that are in some of their districts and in their schools every day aren't as bad as some other places in the world. But it was really cool. We did, you know, we do activities every week, and then our overall year-long project is we're working towards different things to make our school better. Joey, you want to talk about maybe a little? Yeah.
All right, so for us, so basically what we had to do for this program is try to find a problem within our school. I don't think that's the main part of it. Anyway, I'll get to what we're actually doing in a second, but I think the things that I'm taking out of this is more so how to speak in front of a large group, how to get out and introduce myself, how to get up and shake someone's hand and say, hello, my name's Joey Chahaki, and how to get out there. But the project that we are honing in on and what we're focusing on, we are trying to get vending machines back in our school. And I know it sounds a little like, okay, big problem, right, vending machines. But, you know, they can have a big impact on the school, people who forget their lunch, you know, it could give maybe long-term revenue or something like that. But originally we kind of focused, like, it's a nice, like, thing we can actually accomplish because the other things we were trying to focus on were way too, like, okay, fix up the school. We can't really realistically do these kind of projects. So we mostly focus on, you know, specific vending machines, I think. They'll be helpful, long-term benefits over the negatives.
Yeah, and it's really cool. These guys every week they're just like raring to go. We go in and it's like 20 minutes before we even start, and they've gotten like half the work done already because they're just so excited about getting ahead of it. And they've done a lot of research about, you know, initial costs, the service options, where do you get these from, you know, what can go in these vending machines. We've done 2 different surveys and sent them out to the kids. I think we've had over 500 responses between the 6th through 12th grade about, you know, where should they go, what should be in them, all this different stuff. So these guys have done a really good job throughout the year. And next month in May, they're actually going to present in front of Mr. Young and all the superintendents of all the schools that go to this, and kind of just present on what they've been working on all year, and why they chose what they did, and how this can help their school and benefit it going forward. And I'm really excited about this program too, just because if you can change one thing a year, after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, how much better is the school going to be if you just slowly, with the kids' input too, which is so important, because they know what's their biggest problem, maybe even more than a lot of the adults do. So it's been a great group of 4 kids. They're a lot of fun to work with, and they work really hard. And I'm happy we got the group that we did.
So I know we have, you said approximately 15 first-ring school districts, so they directly border Cleveland.
Yep.
People like to talk about what our differences are. What are some of the commonalities you see among students, no matter what school you go to? What are the common threads that stood out to you?
Well, for me, I think it's like the thing that our school doesn't have, because our school's so small, we're so integrated, we're like so community-based that the teachers and students, they have such a good relationship because of the small class sizes. That's what the other schools aren't saying. The biggest thing with them, they're so big, and it's like their counseling programs or their relationships with their teachers, it's not that good. And so that's basically the biggest issue. It's like relationships with teachers, it's mostly like a mental kind of thing over the physical. But it was very different than what we were having because we're so small,
But you bring up the importance of having a very positive relationship between the human beings, right? In the world of artificial intelligence and technology and social media and all those things, the human-to-human connection, especially teacher and student, is one of the most sacred things in all of education, and it's something I'm glad we do it well here. Again, we're never perfect at anything, but we do it so well here, and it's so important no matter where you are, is to have a student with a mentor or a leader, and I'm grateful that our students are stepping up to be leaders for other students in the area. Kaylee, anything you wanted to bring up? No.
She's getting ready. She's saving it all for that presentation
grand
next
finale,
month. She's
right?
she's saving it all. So, well, thank you guys for supporting your students, and I'm really thankful that you've given us the opportunity to go to all these leadership things and enhance these skills for these kids.
Yeah, I would like to, first of all, congratulate the students again.
Yeah.
If we could, I would like to take the moment to go out and get a photo with the backdrop, and also have the Board of Education with them as well. Similar to what we do for Students of the Month, I'd like to get a photo so that we can highlight the great leadership qualities of our students and those individuals. So if we could just, if you don't mind taking a couple minutes. Mr. Suchaki, are you good with that?
That's fine.
All right, perfect. So our second presentation, this is going to be done by Mr. Paul Garish, Director of Athletics and Activities. He's going to be talking about two stadium projects that we are bringing before you in the presentation, and then we would vote on these items in 2 weeks if they make it to that point. So, you're going to stand up there at the microphone, speak clearly into there. I will also put the presentation up, and we have it there in the back too. You can also pull it up on your Chromebooks if you want to see it, because I did attach those as documents for you to view. Okay, Mr. Garish. Let's see what we get here. Well, maybe. This is the way technology's been going for me lately. There we go. Look at that.
Thank you. I apologize for taking my sport coat off, but
Don't complain about the heat, Paul.
I'm not complaining.
Do not complain
Just
about the heat.
Think about how it's affecting me. Well, I appreciate you allowing me to be here this evening to present a couple of capital improvement projects that we've been talking about. I started here in May, June-ish, and these are some things that we've kind of been talking about and had been talking about previous to me being here as well. So you can go to the next slide there. The first one has to do with the scoreboard. And we talk about, is this a need or is it a want? And to be honest with you, the group that's been talking about this really believe that this is a need. And I'm going to kind of talk about the why behind that. I will tell you that we did get a few, and we're going to talk numbers later. But we had a few different ideas that we had some people give us quotes for and things like that. One was to kind of replace what we have there right now. A scoreboard that's going to give us the score, the timeouts, things like that, make it look a little nicer than what's there right now. Before I got here, there were some conversations that were already happening on a possible video scoreboard, which is great, but I'm sure you can imagine that gets a little more expensive the higher you go. So there were some quotes for that, anywhere between $281,000 for a scoreboard. That's the number that was there when I first got here. I went to that group that gave us that. I said, 281 seems like a lot. Is there something maybe that we could do to kind of scale it down? And they got me all the way down to 167. Still a lot for a scoreboard, right? What we need for our scoreboard to do is just be functional. And the problem is with the one that we have now is it's really not that anymore. So if you look at the slide that's up here now, the scoreboard is 31 years old. It has a nice pinkish orange color to it. It's beautiful. It's been there a while. But it has active operational failures. And when I say active, they're active. Like it happens a lot. There's a guy that I call, his name is Otto, and he's Otto the scoreboard guy, right? And he'll come and he'll fix it, but he'll be like, Paul, I don't know how much longer we can get this thing to hang on. It becomes very unreliable. If you've been to a football game, you've probably seen a little strobe thing that it does where it blinks, and that's not planned. It's not
supposed to do that.
It's not supposed to do
No
that.
light shows are supposed to be happening
There's
out
no
of that
light
scoreboard.
shows. So again, it just has become unreliable. If you go to the second box down, we do have 50 events, approximately 50 events per year there. Most of them being events for our school district, but we also rent our facility out to Trinity for their home football games. So we also host the district track meet, which this year now we are also hosting the regional track meet. So there's going to be a lot of people here in our facility. We want that to look nice. We want it to work right. If you look at that last one, and terms of the repair cost, this is just a continued cycle of investing in emergency repairs. Me having to call Otto, the scoreboard guy, right? And him going, I don't know if I can get bulbs. I mean, these are literally incandescent bulbs that are in this thing, all right? They don't make them anymore. So to me, the key point in that last box is it's not really fiscally responsible on our part to keep spending this money on repairing something that's never going to be functional the way that we need it to. And then in terms of, I already had mentioned the top right box there, just the replacement components, they don't manufacture them anymore.
You have to borrow them from refurbished or old
Yeah,
scoreboards.
they're going to get them from places that, like, Otto just kind of drives places in his van and then shows up with some light bulbs, right?
Well, but I think what you're saying, though, is as funny as it sounds, when our air handler went down in the auditorium 2 summers ago, Jim Zerbola found the part on eBay and drove to Sandusky to get it. It cost us $200 or whatever, $150. It worked, and it's been operational since, but these aren't things that you're just going to easily go online or call somebody up and say, hey, we need this.
Correct.
It's even when our gym bleachers broke, they had to go custom make the parts in California. It took us 6 or 9 weeks last spring to repair those bleachers. So
For sure.
we've gotten some miles out of a lot of our hardware around
We
here.
have, and I remember the last time that I had Otto out here, he fixed everything all before the first football game, first soccer game. I forget when he came out, but he's like, Paul, these were his words. This is as good as I can get it. And it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. The next box down, community and student experience, a functioning scoreboard is kind of a baseline expectation. It's not something exorbitant that we're really going, oh, it'd be great if, we need a scoreboard. It's baseline. We've got to have that. It also would make the game day experience just that much better. And it's a good district image thing too, to be honest with you. In terms of safety and reliability, there's outdated electrical systems within that scoreboard. He's in there like, maybe I can put this wire over here so this one will work and this will work, right? So it's just outdated. There are some safety concerns too when you think about stuff like that because it's things that aren't up to code at that point. And that's really important. So any type of modern unit that we would put in would have to be up to code. Where are we here, Matt? Yep. So this project, did not rise to the level of requiring a formal bidding process. So we were able to do that through the established BSN sports vendor relationship. They're part of Omnia, so it was cooperative pricing, basically. What I did is I went to, if you look at that third point there, I communicated with local schools, people in our conference, things like that. I can tell you that Orange, Chagrin Falls, Brooklyn, Independence, Berkshire, all have this type of scoreboard or something very similar to it. Wycliffe has a scoreboard that's called Fair Play brand. That's what we have at the football stadium, and they went to everything new in the last couple of years, and they went to Daktronics, which is the group that we were working with. If you look down at the bottom point there, or the last 2 points, I'm sorry, there is an option, and I have a picture of this we're going to show you here shortly, but there's an optional kind of arched truss at the top of the scoreboard. Thank you. Boosters, so that would be the black metal part up top that's arched, and the Cuyahoga Heights and our CH right in the middle. Boosters has already said that they would donate to take care of that part of the scoreboard, which is about athletic boosters, sorry, which is about $76-ish $100. And then the installation, so the company Daktronics doesn't do the installation. They work with a group that does it, and that would be about 71. So if you look over on the right side of that slide, the top number is what the actual scoreboard costs, minus that truss at the top. The installation is the next line, and then the optional arch, which is what the Booster Club would pay for, is not part of that number, that 27,000 that you see at the bottom. The optional arch is not part of that. So it's, the top two would be the district money responsibility.
So a couple things. So that first point, when you talked about the bidding piece, we still, because it's over a $3,000 threshold, we still get multiple quotes. It just didn't rise to the sealed bid threshold of just over $79,000 is what that
Right.
number is right now. Second point is the main scoreboard is being funded from an account that has been created by Mr. Muccio in the treasurer's office that the revenue from the Trinity rentals has been put into. That money was just sitting there, right, unencumbered. And so in our discussions, we felt that that would be an appropriate use for, you know, the cost to cover this particular project, not from some other general fund account or from another capital or permanent improvement account. That fund was from strictly rentals, and it seemed to be appropriate. And there's enough in the account to cover the cost. Having the Athletic Booster Club kick in that optional truss with the Cuyahoga Heights logo and our name adds a little bit of class to it, which is much appreciated. So again, he put there that the cost to Cuyahoga Heights School District is $27,561.
All coming out of that Trinity fund.
That's coming from the Trinity Fund plus the $7,600. It's about a $35,000 total project.
Yep.
And that's well under, you had mentioned the 168-ish.
161 and 167 and
The highest
281.
bid we received for all the bells and whistles, and I mean light shows, video display. You could play movies on if you have proper copyright licensing. I mean the whole bit. I mean, it was like you're talking about the sound system that would have worked for both the gym and the outdoor stadium was about $450,000 to $500,000 somewhere in there. Well worth it. Well worth it. I mean, it's amazing. But we're not going to do that kind of programming here, and it's tough to justify that kind of cost
Goes back to the what do we need.
for a scoreboard. Yeah. I would venture to say the scoreboard is I mean, it's nice, it's simple, it's exactly what we need. It probably costs less than the Masters golf scoreboard, where they still just put up by hand. There's
Right.
nothing electronic about it, so it's, I think it's a responsible replacement for what we have.
Is our contract with Trinity annual? Like,
They to choose us every year, and so we approve them for the number of home games they want to claim as their own. This year they had 5 home games, plus they played us, which was our home game. So Trinity played here 6 times. Some years they've done it 3 times. They could choose, you know, if we want to price ourselves out of the market, they'll choose some other school district. They'll choose Independence or somebody else. Yeah. So we're affordable. It's
It's a good relationship.
good
between us
relationship.
and
We're
their-
within
their
close
AD.
proximity to their school. So it's something that has worked out really well for us, and the price is right now. So,
The other thing I wanted to mention too is, Matt, if you go back a couple slides, just real quick. So we have a contract with BSN. That doesn't mean that we have to do all of our stuff, for lack of a better term, through BSN, all of our business through BSN. But what we do get is something called impact dollars. So basically, they give us a percentage of what we spend back, and then they give me a catalog of things that I can purchase from using those impact dollars. It's about 8% of that, which is what, 22?
so what have we purchased so far this year with the impact dollars?
Yeah, so this year, if you have been to any athletic event in the winter, the new scorers table, that was impact dollars from previous years, or from last year. If you've seen some of the things that we've put up in hallways, above the concession stand inside, you see like a Cuyahoga Heights decal kind of thing. That came from impact dollars. That stuff is expensive. It's crazy.
Some of the carpets, right, with the CH logo on
Say it
them?
again?
The carpets with the
The
CH logo?
carpets at the bottom
Of
of
the
the
steps.
middle school steps, that came from impact dollars, right? So those are all ways that we can get this scoreboard, but then invest back into our
Get a
schools.
credit back to the school.
Yeah, for sure.
What about for the removal of,
All part of
that?
yeah,
Okay.
It's all
So I
part
feel
of
like
it. The only
rules,
difference is so the removal would be part of that 7,100, I think it was, for the installation. Same company does that. They come in, they take it down. They said once they're able to do it, they'll have it done in a couple days. The one thing that they do have to do is the beams that are there, they have to add onto those beams, just a little higher weld onto them, because of that arch thing we're doing. So, but otherwise, the beams are fine to hold.
And access to that scoreboard will not impact the track at all?
Won't impact the track. They may have to go onto the track, but they told me how they do that, and they keep it safe and all that. But their goal is to do it, come down and around and not go on the track. That's their goal.
That's my goal.
And this would be over the summer before fall sports? Or-
Ultimately, I'd love to see it happen sometime in June or July. So yes, to answer your question. And because they can get it done so quickly.
Right.
If it was a video scoreboard, it'd be a little bit different. I mean, the installation alone on a video scoreboard was like $50,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've been to a couple schools where they've done like the senior night and they video the seniors and
Yep.
it is nice, but you're saying it's at least 6 times the price, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
It's-
I don't know if it's
Well, and again,
feasible.
my last year as athletic director, started exploring that. And there's pathways to do it, but, we have to ask ourselves, if we do a $200,000 to $400,000 project, even if we get people to donate money towards it, people aren't going to say, oh, that was all donated. It was these companies that did it. People will still say, they have all this money to do a fancy scoreboard.
Correct.
Why can't they do A or B or C or D? So like that's always a big challenge. We just think about percentages of money to our annual budget.
But we could also, like, if, we haven't looked at some of the portable digital scoreboards, when you do a graduation or a senior night, it's not impossible to do video.
And this is part
It
of
would
the
be much
thing,
cheaper than having a digital scoreboard.
So even when Mr. Garish was coming on board, part of the project was maintaining that scoreboard with something similar to what we're proposing to put up. And there's a pathway, if finance is right and the world changes a little bit, we could do a project like that. We have space, location, so we could integrate that still into our site, a couple different ways. So, it's not like a never do thing, but it's just not right now.
Yep, for sure. The other thing that we decided to save, again, need versus want, right? We decided to save about $11,000 or $12,000 on, that would have been $11,000 or $12,000 more expensive if we would have chose the option to be able to control that from a phone and things like that, and we don't need to do that. We could have somebody up in the press box. That's what we do. Same with the next project we're going to talk
Yeah,
about as well.
alright.
But
So for the sake of time, let's
Yep.
do this part in 10 minutes or less.
Got it.
Because we got a capital improvement project that we still have to present, which is going to take a half hour.
put a
each,
timer
so-
on. Put a timer on.
No, you're doing a great job. These are important, and
So-
this is going to be one of those projects that if the lights go down, we're not playing home games at nighttime.
Correct.
Period. Because it'd be it would not be cost effective to bring in, portable lights
Yeah, for sure.
to run 50 events.
So stadium lighting replacement, again, need not want. First box there, it is 30 years old, and we've kind of reached the end of its reliable service. Just an example that I can give you is before the fall season started, I went out there before soccer, and we're like, okay, we can get this. This is going to work. This is going to be okay. Was doing my walkthrough and checks even before the first football game, kind of before all the firsts, right? I'm checking it out and go out there before the first football game, like a day or two before, and 13 lights were out. Before that, I think there were 6 out. So in a matter of like a couple days, like they just started. So I had somebody come in to take a look at it, and it wasn't just bulbs. I thought, well, we'll replace bulbs, right? It's not bulbs. It wasn't the ballasts. Had a lot to do with wiring, which I'll talk about here in a minute. LED, obviously, superior light output. Anything. I mean, I have them in my house. I'm sure you have them in your house, right? It's gonna really brighten it out there. It's gonna help athlete and spectator visibility. The LED fixtures, the last box there on the left, do carry a 10-year manufacturer warranty. So basically what's gonna happen is we're gonna keep the existing poles that are there. They're going to take all the wiring out of the inside of the poles. They would replace wiring, and they would put 52 new light fixtures on our existing cross arms that are on the poles. All right, so we have 48 right now, 48 lights, so it's gonna be 52, and they're all gonna work, and it's gonna be a lot brighter. So again, game day experience and things like that. If you look at the top.
No, this is
right-
a disclaimer. This is our opinion.
Yes,
We have talked to our insurance company about
correct.
a potential, like legal opinion on it, claim. So this is what we think has happened on the home side.
Correct, and when they were driving the
500 piles,
the beams into the hillside,
vibrations.
the wiring in there we know is brittle. We do know that. All the lights that went out were on the home side. So our thought process is that brittle wiring just got shook, right? And it was just knocking lights out left and right. Again, it wasn't ballasts, it wasn't light bulbs, it was something else. This kind of becomes a worsening safety concern because I'm no engineer, but what I do know is those poles are metal, and what's down inside of them is electrical wires, and if they're brittle and breaking and touch a pole, it's just not safe. So there's that. We'd also have some pretty significant energy savings, obviously, as you can imagine. And then safety and compliance, like I said before, with the brittle wiring, that becomes a safety exposure. New LED lighting, and then the wiring will all be updated. It'll all be up to code when all that's over. Next slide, real quick. So, Matt, you could probably speak to this a little more intelligently than I can.
It's over the threshold.
Yep.
That requires competitive sealed bidding unless it's urgent necessity, which this was not urgent necessity. Or if you are part of a cooperative purchasing consortium like we are with Ohio Schools Council, they have already done the bidding process for you, so to speak. And they had 4 companies that are on their approved list of vendors for the 2025-26 school year. And so we called up all 4 of those vendors, which again allows us to bypass the sealed bidding process, and because we don't feel like this is urgent necessity, like the fire alarm system was. We were able to go through that cooperative purchasing consortium group, OSC. So that's going to be the number we land on, which happens to be the lowest responsible. It's the lowest bid and the most responsible bid.
Also, like I did with the scoreboard, talked to some people. So some of you I know are familiar with Victory Park over in North Ridgeville. This company actually is doing their upgrade right now. I called their head of athletics, the director over there. He said that the only thing he can't tell me is finished product right now because of the winter that we had. They're just behind. But he said it has nothing to do with the company, has nothing to do with their being responsible. It was just the winter that they had. If you've ever been over there, I don't know how many softball fields they have, how many soccer fields, football fields. It's ridiculous. I live in Homestead Township, and I can see the lights from my house. I already talked about those other points there in terms of the retrofit, the 52 lights. The electrical work is included in this, so That's running new wire harnesses and everything. This is, I have it on this slide. If you look on the right side, second point down, that's where we saved $11,500 because we can walk up into the press box and we can go, and the lights are on. So we don't need to worry about it from our phones or anything like that. That was an optional thing. So that cost came in at 133, a little bit over, 200. So.
Yeah, and the funding for this is going to come out of the digital billboard lease revenue agreement. Now, that account is for the football field, football stadium, and then we discussed even some other safety type of upgrades that may need to happen that could come from that account. And we'll talk about that more specifically, keeping in mind that we have to always be able to replace that football field, which includes the track. So we always have to have enough money in there to do that, or at least.
Point out another thing with Ohio Schools Council, like getting the vendors they had. Most schools don't take all four that they have listed and then have them all come out for win quotes and things like that. So that's just a little more due diligence that, Mr. Garrish and Mr. Zabola did with those companies just to get all the pricing, just so you can compare.
This is a good slide. We'll go through it just real quickly here. Mr. Burek spoke with, I think you talked with Mrs. Martin about getting some numbers from actual electric bills so that we could figure out what our kilowatt hour usage rate was. And then you just did a real quick crunching of numbers about what the savings would be and then how long these lights could potentially last. So that's what you see on this.
So it's from like actual bills from the past year, throwing in the LED lighting that would be put in, additional fixtures compared to the previous type of lights that were in there and how much energy they draw. So, again, you're avoiding maintenance issues, replacing bulbs happens really regardless. There's always something happens to the bulb somewhere. It's always the one that's pointing in the wrong direction.
The previous slide, is there anything like that that was done for the scoreboard? Can you remove that?
It's LED lighting, so I don't, we didn't
It's
do.
gonna draw less energy. I couldn't even tell you how much the current one draws or things like that.
I think you have the energy part of it, but then you also, the biggest part was the repair, like getting people out here all the time to repair.
How, could you give specifics of repairs that have, like,
So a
And
lot of
cost?
times, well, the bulbs are the biggest things. Like, there's literally every number that you see, those are bulbs. Those go out pretty frequently, and then we have to scramble because we don't have any in stock. Nobody can find them. And then if you see like the panels on the scoreboard, where the actual numbers are, a lot of times what'll happen is wires that go to the back of that, we've had that happen in our gym as well. We were able to fix it pretty easily, but those wires will sometimes come disconnected. So it's like a whole panel thing that could go out. Can't figure out why we get the strobe light show. Still can't figure that out. I'm not a scoreboard guy. Otto is, but he couldn't figure it
How
out.
much is auto charge when it comes out?
It's like $500 every time he comes out. Then all the parts and all that. So.
approximately how many times has he come out this year?
I
past
had
year?
him out in the north gym before we got new scoreboards there. I had him out, I want to say 3 times. Well, I had him out twice in the north gym. I'm round. I think this is 2 times in the north gym, probably 3 times outside. So you're talking $1,500 plus all the
25.
stuff.
And that was in the North Gym was the old bulbs prior to being replaced.
Same kind of scoreboard, also a Fair Play company, but they're just so outdated right now. So, this slide just basically shows this is where they're going to point all 52 of the lights. When he first sent this to me, he had these 2 blue ones that you see here. He had those pointing here and here because he thought we had seating over here. I'm like, well, no, I go, we don't have seating there. That's the woods. That's a hill. So he just, when he redid that, that's why they're in blue, because he was just showing me those are the 2 that he moved. So, but any questions for me before you get on with the rest of what you need to do? So those are just the two, if you take and look, those are just kind of the two comparisons. Everything we talked about kind of in a nutshell, if you will. On the left, it's the scoreboard, it's the installation, it's the truss. Again, the number down at the bottom is what we would be responsible for as a district. Again, the 26,000 would come out of the Trinity rental fee fund or line. And
Oh,
then,
I didn't update that number.
oh, that's right, it was the
Yeah, I did.
27, yeah.
It's because of the 70th installation.
installation,
We had
yeah.
estimated lower. My
So
fault.
27,000-ish, and then
Fix that
the
real
other is the 133 for basically, and the other thing too is the 133, he can pretty much turn things around pretty quickly. He's got like a 5-day, get all the stuff that he needs, because I asked him at one point, I go, how do you turn that around so fast, right, with your company? He goes, Paul, this is what we do. Like, this is what we do. We have this stuff in stock. He goes, this is it's in our warehouse. This is what we do.
Were we considering a sponsor at all for the scoreboard? It's not that much big of a space, but.
I say it one more time, sponsors on the board. With the board, if we go back to the picture if you want, this type of board doesn't have a ton of space for sponsors. They do make boards that are a tad bigger, obviously more expensive, that have like static extensions out here that you can put sponsors on, but you would have to replace them all the time. I have talked to a couple, and I reached out to the Cleveland Browns. I was like, hey, you guys want to help us with our scoreboard project?
No. They need help with their football team.
Exactly.
So.
I'm like, I know what you guys are paying athletes. Can you? So, but to answer your question, yes, there's an option for that. I don't know that getting those sponsorships would necessarily pay for the bigger board. I haven't, I'll be honest, I didn't do that. Because all we were talking about was scoreboard.
I think Mr. Burke, you're mentioning maybe down the road if we wanted to get something
So
bigger,
the
better.
part really is we need to put together a comprehensive sponsorship plan district-wide, like what does the board and the community feels appropriate to have sponsorships on? We want to look at NASCAR, or we want to look at the NBA team as one sponsor. So, making those decisions, like what money's out there, we want to go to our community. It's kind of like, parents in district, how many kids that play multiple sports? Like, who are you fundraising for? What program gets the money, your time, your commitment? So if we keep going back to the same people over and over again, it's going to cause issues with future levies, it's going to cause issues with businesses. So we have to weigh the pros and cons of that, and districts look good all the time. And there are ways that you do it in a thoughtful way that people support, but again, you can't just jump into it without thinking about things. I think we'll talk about some other things like that later on as well, in relation to some things in executive session. But again, it's like I said, sometimes, like I live in Kirtland and they have a fence in front of the playground in front of school and they start putting all these signs up there and I'm like, wow, that kind of looks a little cheesy. You know what I mean? You should put a bunch of state signs in front of High Heights schools, like advertising businesses, like you want that? Like is that, how we're gonna be? So it's just figuring that part out. Also ran that by all the coaches as well, right? And what do you guys think? And all of them were on board. Definitely needed, but not, we don't need to go over the top. That was great, but I included them on that, even the colors of it and things like that, so.
Mr. Garish, are you thinking the same timeline for the lights as the scoreboard, like June, July, so it's done before?
Yeah, I think
Fall.
probably early, like to try early June, depending on vote and where it goes and other funds and things like that. But he can turn it around pretty quick. I mean, a lot of the other companies we talked to, they were 8 to 10 weeks just to get the equipment, just to get the lights and the wiring and then another 2 weeks to install. Where this company was, I can get the equipment in 5 to 7 days, and I can have it up in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, we were thinking maybe the first week that school's out,
Yep.
they could potentially do that, so that by the time we hit the end of June, lights are already up and installed and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, both projects would be done before the start of the sports season easily. We don't want to even hit the 4th of July, really.
No, and sports seasons officially start August 1st. I mean, we have some days that coaches can use before that, but officially August 1st, which is a Saturday, which is when it starts.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. If you guys have other questions, the more you talk, drop me an email or something. I'm happy to, or call me. Happy to talk through any of this, okay? Thanks.
Good, thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to listen to the presentation. He's worked an awful lot on getting all that together over the course of the year and trying to figure out whether this was something that was going to be doable and whether it was a want versus a need. Those are Matt Muccio words, want versus need. And you'll hear that with this presentation. You'll see it displayed here in the back as the spreadsheet here is what the team operates from. So each of you has a packet. That packet's attached within board docs as well for people who want to see that at a later time. I want to emphasize a couple things right from the beginning. This is a dynamic document. It's not static. It is changing. It already changed just last week when we had the water.
Can't believe you didn't update it.
No, we didn't, because we just got back. But it's a $41,000 expense that was not part of this, but yet without it, you're not having water to the middle school and high school. And had we let it go, it could have potentially flooded the first level, which means we would have lost the gym floor in the process. And the way the water was coming in, it was quite surprising how quickly things were literally eroding. So it's a dynamic document, and these are projections because money can move and shift at any time because it is a dynamic document. And Matt's done a fantastic job of taking the money that we have in our various accounts, putting them into a spreadsheet form that we're going to be working from, and allowing us to project and predict out. You know, it was a 15-year ambitious goal of the BEST committee last year was to sit down and build off the work that actually started before COVID, when Mr. Zwisler got 100 people together down in the cafeteria area and worked on a plan during the 18-19, 19-20 school years, and then COVID happened, and it took us a solid 4 years to get our footing where we could say, okay, we think life is somewhat back to normal through a financial lens, and we can get a clearer picture of what the cost of doing business is, which we know after COVID, like the cost of doing business for construction rose, and then you had inflation. So those two things together have made it very challenging for a school district that is number 600 out of 610 schools on the OFCC list to receive state support for major projects, a building that is approaching 90 years old, a district that just got its first permanent improvement levy, collecting on it in tax year 25. We just started collecting on that at approximately $50,000, which we're very grateful for. But when we sat down with the BEST committee last year, we recognized that we had potentially, just in front of us, over $40 million worth of potential needs. If you go out and do a bond issue, then the school district is going to take on debt just like a mortgage for 37-ish years is what they typically average. We don't know what the state of public education looks like 37 years from now, and that debt doesn't go away. Even if you eliminate property taxes, you still have to pay the one who gave you the money. And so we have to be very, very, very thoughtful with how we put together the capital improvement plan, building off of what we did last year, knowing that at some point we moved $4 million from the general fund to a permanent improvement account as a result of the last budget bill. We did not know whether the governor was going to veto. We still don't know whether the state legislature will override that veto. You see the $4 million sitting up there, that transfer into that account here on that spreadsheet. So that was something that was done very thoughtfully, and Matt will talk later about some concerns about the Budget Commission. that is going to potentially affect how districts are even receiving their money from the Budget Commission. And we've been very thoughtful, and I want to give, Matt a lot of credit for that. I want to give all the people that were part of the BEST committee last year a lot of credit
It's
for
a
that as
team
well.
effort, and like you said, the BEST committee spent a great amount of time on that, so,
I think about 6 years, really, to arrive at last year was the fruition of all that work. And keep in mind, right now, we don't owe any money on any loans. We're debt-free from that lens, so we're not paying interest on anything. And Matt will tell you, school districts are talking that if the Budget Commission gets their way in 2027, school districts may actually have to take out bank loans in order to make payroll. Districts that have never had financial problems before. So if you look at the document, you'll see that there are 4 distinct accounts, and in this spreadsheet, we've marked them or designated them. There's what we call the General Permanent Improvement Account that had a starting balance in fiscal year 25 of just under $1 million. Projected out to fiscal 29, we'll have about $5.3 million total. That's this first account here. It's the 003 and then the 4 zeros after that. We also have a technology fund, which specifically accounts for everything that we purchase, mainly hardware-wise for the school district that involves technology. Had a starting balance of about $740,000 in fiscal 25. By fiscal 39, we'll have about just under $200,000, and that's if everything just goes swimmingly between now and then. Our vehicle account has about $1 million in it. Fiscal 25, we're fortunate to have received a grant 3 school years ago that allowed us to buy 4 school buses at the price of 2 before the prices went through the ceiling. So we have a pretty healthy fleet. We've got a great mechanic, great drivers who take good care of our vehicles. But we will have probably by fiscal 39 about $200,000 in that account. The athletics is always being replenished every year, annually, to the tune of what? 305, you said? About $305,000 that we'll have to pay for the replacement of the turf, the repouring of the track, and then any other things that we think may fall into that category. Matt has listed what the revenue sources are for all of those. There's really only 2 that have what I would consider dedicated, significant dedicated funds. And that would be the General Permanent Improvement Account, which has the PI levy. All right, as long as that continuous levy stays on the book, it will bring in around $450,000 a year, with an asterisk, right? And then you've got the billboard lease. There's nothing else we've looked into that brings in the kind of revenue that does. We had looked at a cell phone tower, for example, and we got turned down for it. It would have brought in $10,000 a year. We've looked at solar options. Solar options would only save you about $10,000 a year at its best. So nothing that we've seen so far is able to bring in the annual revenue like the digital sign does. A couple of them down there. So those are those accounts. And as you're flipping through the document here, page 4 is showing fiscal year 25. These are things that are actually completed. Matt's reconciled everything. I have, if you look, I've broken down everything by account number first, from the most expensive down to the least expensive within a category. So for example, last year, fiscal 25, and understand that sometimes these projects bridge fiscal years. For example, the fire alarm, we probably paid for part of it in fiscal 25. We probably paid for part of it in fiscal 26, but we just included it all in fiscal 25 for ease of understanding. So that was by far the most expensive that we had on the books for fiscal 25 that came out of the general capital improvement account. Second most expensive came from the athletic fund, and that was the hillside stabilization. So in total, last fiscal 25, we spent $1.1 million, again, all coming out of capital improvement accounts, not coming out of the general fund.
and I I just want to point something out. So we're looking at 4 accounts that we have. We have the billboard account, think of it that way, and that's the 300 level fund. The other 3 are Fund 003, which is our permanent improvement fund. Now, we could roll all 3 together, but what we did is we separated it. So we want to have committed revenue in place for vehicles, committed revenue in place for technology, and everything else is kind of the catch-all that we have. But the 003 isn't altogether encompassing one.
Perfect.
But we know for 15 some years we're set with vehicles, for example, so it has peace of mind there.
Yeah, so, the goal is to be responsive to the needs, to try to upgrade as appropriate, but also have enough money that we have a buffer so that when a pipe does crack and water's rushing into the building, you can be responsive and repair that without depleting your reserves. So it's a really interesting balancing act that we probably, I'd say there's not a single day that if we're all here, that we don't talk about the finances of this facility. I just don't think it happens that we're not talking about it. Informally, we meet formally every week or two about it. But it's something that's we're constantly talking about. Fiscal year 26, we're kind of in it. So when you're looking at the spreadsheet up here, the way Matt had it, we had that big transfer last year. So we had, for example, starting balance when we were looking at the permanent improvement account of just under $5.2 million. And Matt's showing where the different sources of revenue are that's coming into that. So you take the previous year balance, which again, we put $4 million into it from the previous year, which is why it went up so much, from $968,000 to $5.196948. It's because Matt added some additional monies to that, and everything that's in dark. Again, you'll see here, he's including the 603 in fiscal 26, whereas I include it in fiscal 25. It doesn't matter because it all works out at the end when we get to the end of the fiscal year 26. The money's been accounted for. But everything that's in dark shading has already happened. It's already been completed. It's already been paid for. What you see in the non-dark coloring would be things that are either proposed or are in motion. So for example, that roofing project is $720,000 we projected. We've already approved that. That's going to happen as soon as school's out. Tremco is going to facilitate the tearing off of major sections of the roof and replacing, because these are full replacements. We're talking about asphalt at $150,000. We don't know that we're going to do asphalt for $150,000 this year.
Which lot is priority? Which would that, if you did that?
So priority lots is one here, but we have concern with drainage and a couple other things like.
We'll talk about that later, yeah. Yeah, this lot is probably the highest priority. A lot right here, but there's a lot of cracks. If you just really get down and look at it at eye level, you can see the hills and valleys of the parking lot, as well as some drainage issues that we fear that those things are washing out other parts of the complex. You just don't know. So we know that one of the reasons why this pipe burst is because the foundation settled again. And then with the freeze thaw, we got this type of thing happen. So the building pitched that direction, all right, while the freeze thaw just pushed it upward. And so that caused that pipe to get a gash in it about that long.
So is the
Why is the 1938 building still settling? I always ask those questions. Why are we still settling? And where did that crack come from? You ask little questions like that, and I know that can happen over time. I mean, Leaning Tower of Pisa is still leaning a little bit more every year, right? But that parking lot right there, we know, has some serious drainage issues.
Between the drainage and then the talk of the underground spring. You could dig it all out, put a great base down, and spend a lot of money, and you would still have problems. So you have to say, there's a couple different ways to repair it. So what's the most cost effective?
Yeah.
You might repair it 10 times for less than totally digging it out and doing a full replace. So those are things that need to be explored.
Yeah, this is important. The lot right behind the school where the teachers park, it does a lot of the same thing. It's just not as big, not as many people back there.
So the 150 you're talking is just crack seal and seal it, seal coat?
Yeah, I can't
So
recall what-
That's not any repairs, right?
Yeah, that's not even any major
Yeah.
repairs.
We were putting money aside over a period of time to break it down into smaller manageable projects.
I mean, you can see
We
for
had
the
like a
duration.
We had a $350,000 quote at one point for all the asphalt being brought up to a better place, but that wasn't with.
Yeah, and if you follow the asphalt numbers all the way across, it adds up to $510,000. That you could do some serious damage with. The problem is you can't just say, let's do a $500,000 project. That's, because now that starts taking away from other things, and we always want to make sure, as Matt points out, how far are you willing to take these numbers across the bottom? So, those numbers start to drop, and by responsible spending, you go from the 5.2 to the low of 1.2 here. So you get down to 1.2 million, but based on how we've planned things, you see that number start to continuously grow, so that you end up with another healthy number, actually more at the end than you started with. So is there money to do $1 million worth of asphalt? Probably. But in the short term, you're gonna steal from a lot of other projects that might be.
The other challenge too is we've already made a pretty solid commitment to get the roofs taken care of over the next couple of years. So certain lots, if they're needed for the roof replacement, staging areas and where they're doing the work from, you can't do those lots at the
Right.
same time either, so.
Yeah, so we did ask, we have a meeting, scheduled it for Friday with GPD. We had them come out, walk the property with us, and we're gonna talk about everything from the playground over to elementary school, which is probably a project we're gonna be doing, by the end of next school year. We wanna do playground over there to what the asphalt project would look like. So we have a meeting to talk about what those project management costs could look like. But Matt's done, again, a nice job of always looking at, the ending balance there, because, we talked about, for example, athletic facilities, we have to go through and account for $1 million turf replacement here. Now, one of the benefits of keeping the track closed, it's a closed system. We don't let people come down and exercise on the weekends, and we don't open it up to club soccer teams outside of our community that may want to do an event there. We don't rent it out to CSA or any other soccer club. That allows us to get more time on that turf. I mean, that turf could be replaced by what, fiscal 28 or 29, according to what the manufacturer said. We think we are going to get out to fiscal 32, because if you take care of it and you don't overuse it, then it's going to last a lot longer. And there's no amount of revenue we're going to bring in by renting it out to soccer clubs. It's going to replace $1 million. And we actually had two $1 million expenditures in there at one point, because we were thinking maybe fiscal 28, 29 for the football field, which means another one comes in fiscal 38 or 39.
And I believe we made 12 years last cycle, which was, and it was an inferior product. The product that got replaced with this current turf with me was the highest quality. It was better turf than was down in Ohio State's stadium when they had it put in, so we used a good product.
And I just want to add too that this is our forward-thinking internal planning that we use. So the 4 tabs on the bottom, we're constantly, every quarter, let's say we go back in and we sit together as a group and we, move around the numbers and see what makes sense. So this is our plan looking forward. And again, fiscal 39, you want to pass it off to, the next, group, because I'll probably retire in fiscal 39. So at that point, whoever comes in, you're not just leaving the cupboard bare. So they have, things that they can work with. Also, too, our financials that I've done every month in board docs includes 2 sheets. It's our permanent improvement fund revenue and our permanent improvement fund expenses. So it's T2Q and T2R. Those are essentially the lead sheets, and I'll highlight those our second meeting in April. But again, those are in board docs, so if anybody wants to go back in time and just look at different snapshots, it's there, and it's always been there. So those are essentially our lead sheets that we have. that
If you go
tell
to,
the story.
yep, if you go to page 6, you'll see that, the short term, we're talking about over the next 4 years. Get out of this school year, so taking us to fiscal year 30 is 2029. We know we're going to continue with the roof replacement cycle. We have discussed doing things with our HVAC system in the middle school specifically. The fire alarm system over at the elementary school, it's the same age as the one that failed over here. It's just not used as frequently, and it's not as big of an area. It's one half of the size of square footage over there, so it's not as much of a burden when we do use the system. We do know an auditorium air handler. I mean, that when it goes, and that should be a fiscal 27 thing, because when we replace that section of roof, we're probably going to replace that air handler, which is, that's the Apollo 13 analogy, where they're literally, it's literally being held together with Atari parts at this particular time. The north gym is another thing. Like we know we got the ceiling. We're going to have to repair that. When we do repair it, right now it's it's secure, but it is an asbestos ceiling. So it's right now it's secure, but as soon as you start ripping that off, you're going to have to do an abatement. And that abatement's going to be pretty expensive. So.
I don't know if people caught this from another project. The gutters got put in elementary school. You saw that, so they're there now. You go to tell the plumbing beautifully. They're going to be doing the high school, middle school next, and the gutters will help where the leakage happens in the too. So that's part of
As we discussed, when water would run off of those, run off the roofs, they hit the gutter and they actually came into the building before exiting the building. That was the design. So we're not going to do that anymore, are we? We'll keep water outside the building.
traditional outdoor gutters.
Yeah. So you can go through there. I mean, you can see we've talked about potential replacement of South Gym bleachers are listed there. We've talked about safety and security with the elementary school pod remodeling down in the pod area. We've talked about the main entrance area, whether we need to do something there. And those would come out of the athletic account, because we feel that safety is important too, and you need a way to examine those particular safety features. But they're just ideal. Some of these came out of the BEST committee last year when we were talking about what do we need to look at with respect to safety and security, and those were some of the things that came up. Elementary playgrounds listed on there. You'll see stadium lights for fiscal 27. We know we're going to do them in June, but we could pay for them in July, which puts them in fiscal 27. So, and it was $184,000 back when we were anticipating the cost, but now we know it's going to be $133,000. So it's actually less than some of the initial costs we had gotten by going through OSC and using their bidding process.
So South Gym bleachers for next year, that's something that we can get done before winter sports?
You're not going to be able to get it done this school year, for next year.
No.
No, because when we were looking into this, first of all, when people replace gym floor or gym bleachers, it all happens in the summertime. We were hoping to do it in May, and we're already too late to do it this year.
Those scare me, honestly. I'm afraid we're going to get a lawsuit. Honestly, someone's going to really hurt themselves. Every basketball season, and we walk and I see grandparents, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just. To me, that's a necessity. But
we had hoped so we were going to, again, looking at when the planning, I think we had put it in fiscal year 27. We're going to get another round of the digital billboard. It's going to come in, and we were looking to have that done for the 27-28 school year. So next year's 26-27. There's no way, I don't think there's any way we could get it done for next season.
we've been lucky with the graduation with weather, but that's the other thing. If
Oh yeah, it
that
gets warm,
moved in,
toasty.
and the backs of those bleachers have
Yep.
fallen off, that you can put your foot right through. They move.
So when we went to, did you go out to, was it Oberlin? Did you
Yeah.
go to that basketball game
Mhm.
early in the season? They had gone through with basically 2x10s, and I don't know if that's to code what they did out there, but they just basically just hammered in and put in just all new whatever on their old bleachers. They didn't even replace them. They just put down new wood. I don't even know if you could do that with ours. I really don't think you could, so. But it's definitely on the radar. We already have, actually, since you mentioned it.
Chagrin Falls had the, we walked up and they had the, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, BSN quoted us $265,000 for the bleachers, and then Farnham is another company. They quoted us $258,000. And then Martin Public Seating quoted us $247,000. So 250 is about the number we would have to competitively seal bid that. So we would have to go through that process because it's not.
Is that something you could do in stages? Because it seems like we only use that side.
I think we had
I'll just
asked
do
about
side
that.
first and then-
It's cheaper to get them to do it once.
It's cheaper to do it once, the labor and then the removal of everything. Like, you actually have to get rid of the equipment.
And the next step is, the other part is typically after you do that, then you redo the floor, you sand it down completely, you do a repaint on the gym floor, so it becomes a more extensive project than just, they're gonna scratch things up, they're gonna have things that aren't matched the same way, because we just wouldn't come out as far, with the quotes we got, go down, I think like 2 less bleachers, both sides. potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
it would be more, but if you like did split it, say you spent 150 and 27, and then you did the other half, it's not used as much, maybe like in 29, or you spent on 150, so you spent a little bit more, but.
we could ask,
get a little bit
I mean, we
more
could
use.
ask what the feasibility is at for these companies.
I feel like there's more officials too that are, for different reasons, asking people that are seated on that first row to move out of their.
That's because we have too many rows.
Well,
We don't need 13 rows of
Right.
bleachers. We figured we can get by, maybe 12 or 11 on the home side and 10 on the visitor side.
Right.
And then you have 6 feet of space.
Yeah.
Then you put down one of those large runners, and then when people come in the wintertime, they're not getting their nasty shoes all over the gym floor. It's going to be on the runners, and
it's just when those people are then asked to move and they can't
Yep.
physically, you know what I mean? Then
Yep.
it's this awkward exchange. I think I saw Joel Kovich actually carry an elderly person up.
But I'll have Paul look into it. I'll have him look into all those things, including a timeline. We met, when were we talking to these, we had these people out in September or October? I think we talked to them and they said, you can save tremendous amount of money if you get it done in May. And we know when we get into June and July, we've got a lot of athletic contests that I would probably get a little pushback on, changing things this late in the game, as opposed to having a little bit more time to do that. But I do recognize they're on their last leg, and I understand the safety concerns. Everything else is just a projection beyond 5 years. So you can look at it. If you've got feedback like we just had right here, it's a great discussion. Again, we'll start doing the homework on it, take that back to our team and see what kind of plan we can come up with to tackle this, all these particular needs. I know the playground was something that the PTO, for example, had asked about, correct?
Yes, we offer to help fund.
Yeah, able to help fund it. So that's one of the things we're talking about this Friday, because we already walked the property. And the goal is to have a playground that's, first of all, it has to be ADA compliant, and second, it has to be, talk about buffers. You can't just say, let's put in a new playground. It's like, let's put in a new playground, and then what could potentially happen here within the next 10 years? All right, so if you resurface the entire parking lot. Let's say somehow you're able to buy 10 feet of property and you can now put a road that actually comes along the south side of the school and comes behind it. You don't want to have any interference with the playground. We have a tree we know that is too big. It's going to cost us, what's the quote to take down the tree? George, do you remember? $8,400. We've got a huge tree. It's a beautiful, huge tree, but I can climb that tree and get onto our roof. And if a big branch falls while kids are walking out to recess, that's a problem. It's just a tree. It looks great, looks sturdy. It's got roots everywhere, but it needs to come down, and we're gonna take that down as soon as school's out. But that's back there by that playground area, so. So those are all things that, we've tried to thoughtfully put into the plan. We will, as we get into next year, we'll provide an update midway through the year, and we can do this a couple times a year where you can just kind of get an understanding of where we are with our funding. Keeping in mind that any significant change from the state legislature or any potential constitutional amendment, all this is null and void. Even though it's PI accounts, I mean, there are things coming that if we just talk about congregate schools, they are absolutely devastating to this school district that are proposed in law right now or proposed in the general voting population. So there are things that we'll continue to talk about, but, we're planning for the next 100 years of Cuyahoga Heights schools, hoping that the state lawmakers don't put us out of business within the next 5. And that's where my mind goes. So,
How do you account for inflation in these? Because obviously we're going out a long way here.
I've seen a political ad lately that says we're going to restore taxes back to pre-COVID taxes. And I'm like, are you going to adjust inflation back to pre-COVID inflation? Because things still cost money.
Yes.
And I think the good thing is because we had the post-COVID numbers, GPD helped us with that. A lot of these numbers are post-COVID numbers. If these were pre-COVID numbers, a lot of these expenses would be
I know
less.
they're already post-COVID. I'm just thinking about 10 years from, you have numbers in here that are 10, 15 years out.
It's kind of a crapshoot.
It is.
Yeah,
But you plug it in.
But
You
we're doing
just plug in
things.
a percent every year or something?
We're not that
sophisticated.
we're not that fancy, but we do try to get forward thinking. Like, for example, Mr. Hartman came to us about Chromebooks and said the Chromebook costs are going to go up $100 per Chromebook. So we need to do a couple things. Let's purchase Chromebooks now earlier than cycle,
Right.
which we're doing. But then we also have to talk about, okay, let's go back to maybe some grades just need to be on carts, and we're not going to send Chromebook home because we don't do homework in 2nd grade. So why does a kid need to have a Chromebook to take home in 2nd grade? Let's just keep one in the classroom so that every kid has an operational Chromebook while we're at school, if it's needed. And so we're able to do that, so we're not purchasing. So we're going to cut down on our purchasing by changing the cycle, but also trying to be smart and saying, if we buy this now, we're going to avoid the inflationary cost that's going to happen next year. And those are the kind of things that we have to we have to look at. George and Jim Zerbola attend business manager meetings monthly, so they are in touch with the Ohio Schools Council, so that they are telling us, we're able to keep the price of electricity at this. Well, when you know that you're able to save on electricity, then you've got money for other things. And so it's a challenge.
I know, that's why I asked the question.
It's a challenge.
And sometimes those numbers are higher estimates, so like not everyone is exactly.
Yeah, we got one on the sheet right here that's higher.
So some of their.
We think with the roofing projects, for example, we're going to be within the $4 million we transferred. That's going to be an important piece because they actually gave us a 4-year plan. And they said, yeah, this could adjust by this much, but it's only going to be by this percentage. So it's hard when you get out to, is it really going to cost $1 million to replace a football field? I can't tell you that. I don't know. They may say, well, this particular product is, they found that this is not good for our student athletes. There's long-term health issues with this. Not that we have that with our product, but something like that could happen, and all of a sudden you're paying a premium rate for turf.
Right.
Just put in the grass again. Dirt. Grass isn't cheap either.
No, that was the justification for the artificial,
Yeah.
saving money on maintaining the grass field.
But if at any time along the way you have questions, just feel free to reach out to us. This is a dynamic process. It's an everyday evolving process. So don't wait for 6 months to ask the question. If you got questions along the way, throw it out to us, and then we'll do our homework and come back to you.
I have a question. So potentially in 2 weeks, we will be voting on the stadium lighting. Let's say we feel something out, like a different project takes priority. How does that
So what you'd have to consider is this: if the lights fail, we cannot do night events. So you'd have to move Friday night football games to either all away games or to Saturday afternoon games. You're not going to do a nighttime soccer game. You're not going to do anything in the evening time, and that's possible. We've talked about that. Like, what's the alternative to not fixing stadium lights? Only day contests.
Everything Saturday, Sunday, because by fall, it's getting dark. Even you'd have 4
Yep.
o'clock soccer games
So,
early.
so that's, and we know that we're on borrowed time because the wires did break. I mean, I'm not saying, the wires were already brittle. The Hillside project just accelerated that process, potentially. That's for our,
Click into the billboard account.
Yeah.
There's a good assurance that, if we look, it's
Yeah.
our fourth tab there.
yeah, let me get there.
So we have 184,000 in fiscal '27. Now, this is coming out of our 300 fund, so not our 003 permanent improvement. So if we have another, leak, let's say, for example, that's going to need an emergency repair, this is committed revenue from the billboard for the 300.
And there was a board resolution back in the late 90s that, right, late 90s that talked about at least what a percentage of this fund has to go to the football field. I don't think they said, it was like $50,000, like $50,000. What were you building for $50,000? That was probably back right when turf came out, maybe.
Correct.
So you have to adjust for what it actually costs to replace the turf, because the football field was a specific piece of that
Yeah,
resolution.
we have to commit so much money to the turf field and the stadium area in that fund. So there's already committed funds that really we can't touch. But aside from that, everything over that committed restricted money, you could look to maybe transfer it out if you wanted to, or you could use it like we're looking at it for the stadium lights and saying that, there's a need that's been articulated. Yeah, I mean, we could play day games. That was something when I was at Coventry that was examined when they were in fiscal emergency, and said, hey, there may not be money here. We may have to just play. And that's a realization, day games. So sometimes that is the case. But with us here, we know that we're going to greenlight those projects in 2 weeks. The money's coming from that different account that we have in place. Again, you could look at it through the angle of we could take the surplus and transfer it over to the 003 fund and use it for leaks or anything else, or parking lots that we have out there. So, it's that game, wants or needs, and if it's a need, how much of a priority is it that we want to do?
I'm not saying I'm against stadium lights, but it seemed like you were expressing that, like the safety of the stadium,
It's the
Bleachers.
South Gym bleachers.
the bleachers,
The main gym.
is actually more of a safety concern, but it's kind of like we're so late in the game that.
Yeah, I literally don't know if we could physically get anything replaced. And if we did, it'd be August and September, potentially. But we'll look into it. I mean, you may have, BSN probably has a lot of work right now, because I heard their bleachers were so heavy that they were actually tearing grooves into the floor. They were so heavy, they were breaking the gym floors. So we got a quote from them, but I don't know that I want to go with them.
Farnham's the big one in Ohio.
Yep.
That's
Now, Farnham said, yeah, we could come in here and we can have this done in the month of July. Well, then we have something to talk about. But is this all subject to the appropriations that the Budget Commission has to give? Because they're going to release money to school districts certain times a year now. Very, much less than they were before, if it goes to, you know more, that's your side. You're going to talk more about that.
We had also talked a few meetings back, months ago, that if we needed to change that resolution, we could do another board
Could.
resolution for that fund and make it for all athletic facilities, or not just football, whatever.
And that's what we've done here. We've said if we got enough carryover, then like you'll see the South Gym bleachers. Why? Because we feel it's a safety and security need. And so we threw safety and security into this as well. And see, that takes care of that. It takes care of a playground. And then you got your elementary entrance, that we had discussed.
additional money now with the
Additional revenue, yeah, with what's the new deal. So we feel like we've got enough revenue that we can start spreading it beyond just the football field, as long as we're able to say, when it comes time to replace that football field, we got the money in the account. So, yep. Anything else?
Thank you, this is very comprehensive, and thank you for all the work.
You're welcome. It's a team effort. Like I said, I put 4 names on there, and everybody contributes, especially Mr. Zerbola does an awful lot of the public relations piece with a lot of these vendors behind the scenes. So appreciate his work as well. He couldn't be here tonight.
Thanks to all.
All right, we actually get to the meeting now.
Oh, is that why we're here?
Yeah.
There was no comments before.
Yeah, okay, I think we can skip over number 4 because anyone who would have stayed around has probably gone. So we're moving into number 5, treasurer's business.
Thank you. I ask for items 5A, 6A through 6D for approval tonight in the consent agenda.
Okay, can we have a motion for those items, please?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Ms. Majeska. Keep my teeth in there straight. Can we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Pete. Is there any discussion?
6A, we just have 2 new vendors, if we look at our lead sheet. One is for Ardent Piano, that's for piano tuning, that's $1,400 from general fund. And the second item is Dover Fueling Solutions, that's for our annual software management. Of that, $900 amount coming from the general fund as well. Close out of there, and that's going to be further down in Mr. Young's side of the agenda when we approve Dover's contract. This is just adding the vendor. 6B, purchase orders over 5,000. We have more than a handful. We have 7. Number 1 is Cummins Sales and Service. This is recommended from our mechanic. Diesel exhaust fluid system repair to a bus that we have, $5,972 and change from our general fund. Savas Learning, Matt, that's yours, for textbooks, electronic instructional materials for high school Spanish 1 and 2. It's our digital license renewal, 3 years, coming from the general fund, $5,520. Number 3, that was the emergency water leak repair by Neptune Plumbing and Heating. That we had outside.
The cost did come in a little higher than what, I give you $38,800. It's a little higher because they actually had to replace the valve in the basement as well. That was not something that they had anticipated. It was so rusted from the water leaking for many years that they had to actually cut it off and replace it. So that was an additional cost.
Okay. It's still lower than the first estimate.
And we replaced the full 53-foot of pipe. The low end would have been just to replace approximately 10 feet of pipe. But as they were pulling back the dirt, it was like the Titanic. All of a sudden, holes started opening up all down the pipe. It was that thinned out. So
Yeah.
we were, I don't know if that's lucky or what, but.
And the water was
I'll take
really
it.
leaking in the building that
Was
day
it?
too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when we
Could've
looked at
taken a
it.
shower
Yeah,
or
that was
something.
pretty bad. Number 4 is for Star Camp. That's Mr. Bureks. That's our extended school year, summer camp 2026 for special needs students per IEPs. General fund, $18,953. PSI affiliates, that's also Mr. Burek, but this is an interesting situation. So this is a February 2025 service. PSI did not send over the invoice until now, recently. We closed out prior year, purchase order, and this is a new one in order to pay. Around that time in February of last year is when we approved our modified agreement with PSI. So I'm not sure if they lost track of it or not. But they never sent it over. So that's ours for $11,620. Number 6 is Rydell All-American Sports. That's Michael Hall. That's for football reconditioning equipment from our 300 fund, $6,200. And number 7 is for Mr. Hartman. That's Blum of Minnesota. That's 4 Clever Touch TVs for instruction. That's also from our Permanent Improvement Technology Fund. $7,196. Questions? C is going to be just the then and now certificate for that PSI service from February of 2025. We did talk to PSI and we said, maybe review your end of year PSI. If you have anything that needs to be billed, please let us know as we go through. 6D is going to be Minuteman HR Management. So this is going to be renewing our yearly agreement with Minutemen to be our third-party administrator for administration. of both workers' compensation and unemployment claims management, and to enroll us in the group rating enrollment policy year beginning January 1st, 2027, for a whole calendar year. And if we go to that second attachment, it explains the group experience rating program. So this program allows both public and private employers with better than average claim histories to join a sponsoring organization. They then rate the group as one employer. So low-risk entities are invited into this group, and the thought is you have, little to no claims for accidents that happen. And then you see the benefit of that by getting a better premium from Bureau of Workers' Compensation. So every year I've been here, we've been invited to join one of those. Continues on. So, but again, it's one of those things where, we had black ice that affected us a month ago. So
We had 3 employees fall.
yeah, we had 3 employees fall. So it's, it's a little luck and a little, try to plan for what can happen, so. And those are the items I ask for approval tonight in the consent agenda. And that cost is $1,076 for that.
Okay, any questions for the treasurer? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Ms. Pajeska?
Aye.
Mr. Rossi? Aye. Ms. Apathy?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to section 8, treasurer discussion and comment.
Yep. Just 4 items tonight. First one, 8A. We received our first half settlement from Cuyahoga County, and I will summarize the collections and correction by them for the next Board of Education meeting when we approve the monthly financials for March. So we'll go into detail from that. Interesting note, in the admin content, I received a message from another treasurer in Cuyahoga County saying that they have a similar issue to the tax value error that we had, and they're working with our legal counsel as well, and that Cuyahoga County is recalculating their commercial rate based on corrected values. So I'm not sure the specifics. I got to talk to that treasurer, but it's interesting that it looks similar to ours. So unique. I did catch it before him, so I'll point that out. 8B, so this is Cuyahoga County Fiscal Office. They did an announcement on tax advances. So if we open the first attachment, that is the note that went out last week, Wednesday, I want to say, April 8th. So they say effective January 2027, the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Office will no longer advance funds collected from real property or manufactured homes outside of the regular settlement schedule. Distributions will occur only during the 2 scheduled settlement periods each year due to the new tax law changes, and filing an appeal process is currently being implemented. Fiscal Office will reevaluate this process once the new tax processes are in effect. Please reach out if you have additional information. The second page of that attachment, if we go back to that first one, yep. Second page of this. So this is what our tax advance schedule looks like. So January 15th of this year, we had a advance coming from Cuyahoga County. Then the following month in February 13th, we had another advance. And then we get settled up in March. So maybe the first one in January, they give us $1 million, and then $2 million, and then settle us up with another $2 million in February. So it keeps cash flow steady at school districts during low times, because if you think about it, how does revenue come into our accounts? So we get revenue from the state, and the state gives you foundation aid, and that's twice a month. So that's on a consistent basis that we can account for. But property taxes, they only come this way. So there are times when cash flow is very low, and you have to kind of manage and say, well, what can we pay, what can we not pay as we go along. And then the second half collection, they give you an advance in July 15th, and settle you up in August. But now what they're saying is they're just going to give you the first half settlement in March 13th, and August 14th, so twice a year. If we go to the other attachment I have included, we're starting to see some pushback from other groups in Cuyahoga County. So this is an email from a superintendent that I had forwarded to the board for everybody to read, and she really articulates the situation well in this. So and just in that short amount of time from last week, I want to say Thursday, to where we're at now, which is Monday, there've been a number of treasurers who have emailed Cuyahoga County. We've emailed with each other. We have a meeting scheduled this week that we're going to talk about it. So, there's a lot of schools that are nervous about what's going to take place. From our aspect, we're sitting pretty good, and we don't have to worry about it. So, Matt, if you can click on, go to item C that we have in there,
Yeah, try.
and click on cash carryover percent. So if we make this a little larger, and it's opening right now. There it goes. It's going. It's trying.
It doesn't like it.
Doesn't want to open.
PDF's too large.
All right. Well,
Keeps failing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Work for you guys?
it opened right up.
Oh, okay.
It's only my computer. This is par for the course anymore for me.
I'm going to try it on mine.
Matthew's back there grabbing his head. He knows it.
Oh, there we
is.
go.
There it is.
There we go. So if we make it a little larger, so what we're looking at here, and this is data pulled from ODE's website. So we're looking at fiscal year 2025, last fiscal year. We're in 26 right now. This shows the percentage of cash that you have as your cash carryover. We remember that discussion well. In essence, last year, we were fighting the state to say, hey, don't go after our cash carryover. The state wanted to chop it off and ultimately settled on, 40% before DeWine vetoed that aspect. But this is where everybody ended 2025. And the one that's very, very low at the bottom is Garfield Heights, then Cleveland, then Olmsted Falls, Bay Village, Richmond Heights. So they're sitting with between 11 and 22% cash carryover. So that's why those schools are really panicking, because they may have to borrow in those periods in January and February where they may not have cash to make payroll. So they're looking at it and saying, what do we do? If you look at Fairview Park, which is sitting at 22.6%, I want to say 6 from the bottom, they had similar to cash carryover in 24 that we did, which was over 90%. Now, they transferred a lot of cash from the general fund out to a permanent improvement fund.
How much was that?
I don't know, what, 10 million?
10 million?
Maybe
11
more.
million?
I don't know. Don't hold me on this one, but they transferred a lot of cash out.
Sounds right.
So by doing so, lowered them here, but did that kind of hurt them with this process that Cuyahoga County is coming out and saying now that they want to hold back advances and not issue those anymore. So the schools that are at the bottom here are the ones that are really panicking with this process. I talked to the treasurer at Strongsville Schools, and he said that he will not have funds available to make payroll, and they will have to borrow.
Borrow from us.
They can borrow from us,
Charge
yeah.
interest.
There you go.
There you go. Now you can see where we're at. So we're at the top in Cuyahoga County at 63%. But again, that's the state looks at that and they say, well, your cash carryover is too much. And remember, they go after that. So we can't go too little, because if you do, something can happen, like this case where Cuyahoga County is taking back the tax advances. And we can't sit too high because the state comes out and tries to pass laws to chop it down. So it's hard to find that Goldilocks spot, but I like where we're at now. We're good, and the county's still doing our 4 and 4 split. We kept 4 in the general fund and we transferred 4 out. So we're sitting with 63%.
Yeah. It was so
So-
smart. We've talked about how the decision to split the money at that time and leave 4 in the general fund and put the other 4. I mean, it's withstood a lot of concerns that other people have and that we think maybe are coming down the pike.
But
so.
that email by the superintendent in Cuyahoga County is rallying superintendents to sit and meet with the treasurers and then devise a plan of action. So we will hear more of that in the next coming weeks. So that's going to be a big issue, I suspect. Not for us per se at the moment. Next item, C. This is a very big concern. So this is House Bill 420. If we click on the main reasons, yep. So it's going to open up a document in Word. And I'll just read the top. Ohio House Bill 420 is a proposed bill titled the Taxpayers Freedom Trilogy Act 1, Discontinuing the Continuum. It aims to eliminate property tax levies that are currently authorized for a continuing period of time, mandating that they instead have a fixed renewable term by 2030. So key details would be the purpose to eliminate those indefinite continuing property tax levies. The impact means they expire after tax year 29. So requiring them to be renewed for a specific number of years. So we would have to take our levies, which are all continuing, and put them up for renewal.
At one time, all at one time.
Yeah. So the scope applies to school districts, townships, counties. So it's very, very concerning for us. And at the bottom, I put together 5 main reasons why school treasurers would be concerned: loss of stable long-term revenue, more frequent elections, budget volatility, impact on smaller or rural districts, and timing issues with Ohio's school funding system. If we close out of here and go to our next attachment, the legal and constitutional considerations. Put this together. So again, it provides background, core legal issues. Really the issue I want to highlight is on the second page there. It talks about prospective or retroactive law. So a key legal distinction in evaluating House Bill 420 is whether the law operates prospectively or retroactively. Courts generally allow legislatures to change laws that affect future conduct, even if those changes alter the long-term effects of earlier decisions. However, laws that retroactively invalidate completed legal actions are often unconstitutional. So it could be that this House Bill 420, if passed by the legislature, could be deemed unconstitutional because it's affecting a retroactive aspect of when voters went to approve those levies, and on the ballot it said for a continuing period of time. Now if I exit out of here, who does this affect? So if we go to the DTE 27 report, click that, and this is from Cuyahoga County's own website. Keep in mind that they actually write in red pen on this document that's saved on their website. So when we see that red pen, that's not me, that's Cuyahoga County. But let's keep flipping through for a couple schools and we'll get to us. The second page is going to be Bay Village. Now what do we see here? It's kind of small, Matt, maybe if you make that larger, but where it says tax year expires, CONT is continuing. So for Bay Village, virtually all of their levies are continuing. And if we look, yeah, I mean the authorized rate just at the top is 44, and then you add in all the others. I mean, you're talking a 50 mil levy if this goes away for Bay Village, probably more. Let's go to the next school as we make our way down to Cuyahoga Heights. Beechwood, same thing. All continuing levies, 44 is the top one for Beechwood School, so they'd be in the same spot. You're looking at an over 50 mil levy, perhaps. Bedford, the same thing. Berea, the same thing. Brecksville, the same thing. Brooklyn, the same thing. They have a 22 mil levy continuing.
Brooklyn has an awful lot of expiring levies, so that's why he's on the ballot every other year.
They do, but they have that continuing one at the very top, which is 22.
Yeah.
Chagrin Falls, the same thing. Cleveland, it's still high for their continuing. Cleveland Heights, University Heights, same thing as well. That's 52 at the top that they have, just the top one. Then you get to ours, and all of ours are continuing that we have. So we're looking at 20, 30, 40 mil levy that would have to go on for renewal. And just trying to educate the public and saying, you're still going to pay the same, let's say it's $5,000 that you paid last year in property taxes. Nothing's essentially changing. We try to match that, but that's why you're seeing a 20 or 30 or 40 mil levy that's on the ballot. So all schools would be in that predicament, that the state would take away continuing levies, change what happened in the past retroactively.
So what would the term be that you would allow to have these renewing then?
I
Like
believe it's
3?
between 5 and 10 years. So we could swap out all of the continuing and turn them into renewal levies for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, and you won't ask for 43.7 because House Bill 920 froze all those. It established an inflationary cap on all those. So when you unfreeze all those, like 43.7 mils at today's rate, we could live for a couple decades probably off of that, right? But your taxes would double or triple, maybe crazy. If you, so we would, you're talking, well, not, it'd probably be like double. Because we'd be under 30 mils probably if we went back
Now-
at today's rates.
Now, this is something I'm concerned about. So I'm very concerned about this. Matt, if you close out of here. And again, all the schools in Cuyahoga County, if you were to go through that, are affected by this. Go to the Alliance, BASA, OASBO. So if you make that a little bigger, I had emailed those Microsoft Word documents to the Alliance for High Quality, which we use, BASA, which is the Buckeye,
State superintendent.
State Super, OASBO, which is Treasurers, OSB, which is Board Membership, their group. And if we go to the top, Katie Johnson from OASBO goes, thanks for sharing, Matt. And then she just talks about, we're getting mixed signals about whether the bill will receive additional hearings when they return in May, but we'll be ready either way. These materials are very helpful and will be great for testimony prep, talking points, and other outreach as things move forward. And then if we go down, we're going to see from Paul Imhoff, who's from BASA, the superintendent organization. He goes, Matt, this is very well done. Thanks for sharing. So just trying to advocate and get out in front of this. So we'll probably hear more about it, but I've already started the advocacy as we go forward, just to say that, this, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to say continuing levies now have voters going out and, having say-so. What we talked about, Mr. Young and myself, is not looking at it from a retroactive aspect and doing away with what you already have and what voters have approved, but prospective. All right, maybe going forward in 2030 or 2029, no more continuing levies. That might be, maybe. So, but not going back in time and doing away with what was done. Any questions on that, or? Gotcha. And 8D is just to give a heads up for the conference this week. That's with our elementary school that's going to be there for their presentation. It looks like it's going to be 20 minutes to 25 minutes at the 1:15 session on Thursday, and we have 3 people scheduled for that, Jen, Carolyn, and Gary. So.
Yeah, we have a team of about 5 people going down. We put together a nice video. It'll be a good presentation. Unfortunately, I can't make it. I've got other things to appointments I have to attend on Thursday. Thursdays are not great days for me. So, as far as my schedule goes, but we're well represented down there.
That's all I have for tonight, unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Here, oh, that's what it is.
Oh, there it is, yeah. I see. It's a big bug. Matt, did you consider any possibility of carpooling, or we talked about even taking a van down there for those of us who were going just for that part of the meeting?
Yeah, did the board want to, if you 3, because I was going to be there Wednesday, but I wasn't sure if you guys were looking to carpool on Thursday. Because I'm leaving here about afternoon then, so I'll be there. But if you guys wanted to carpool Thursday altogether, because you guys are all going down.
I was just, Matt and I had briefly,
Matt Young.
briefly talked about.
Yeah, I know one of the people going down. They have a sister that lives down there. They were going down the night before.
So that's off the table.
Yeah. It's.
All right,
I think everybody's just driving from their homes.
okay.
They're all scattered. So.
All right, so we can
talk.
board members can talk after the meeting. Okay.
And they say wear your school spirit on Thursdays, so.
Okay. We don't know what room it's in yet either.
No, I think they're still trying to,
That's the same hotel where the
yeah,
convention.
Capitol Conference.
Capital Conference was.
Yep. So.
Okay, done? Great. All right, moving on to superintendent's business.
All right, thank you. On the consent agenda for consideration, I have items 9A through E, item 10A, item 11A, and items 12A through C.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for those items, please.
So moved?
Moved by Ms. Decker,
Second.
second by Ms. Majeska. Any discussion?
All right, so 9A, this is a correction to the payment in lieu of transportation costs for 25-26. Because of deadlines within the law, we approved these we sent them out in May and we approved them in June. And at the time, the cost was $596.43, but the state publishes their actual cost after July 1, which was $607.15. So we need to correct everybody's payment by $10. So there'll be a corrected, we'll have to create a requisition or a purchase order to cover the difference in costs that we have to pay these particular families, because we have individual contracts with them. We'll work with Ennis Britton on language maybe that we can word it so that it's whatever the July 1 cost is, as opposed to a fixed cost, because again, the situation we got into, because we have to approve these 30 days prior to the start of school for the parochial school, and because at the time we typically only had one board meeting in July, we had to statutorily meet those deadlines. And so we approved everything in June, but the new cost wasn't fixed yet. And so now we have to make a correction. That's what this
Okay.
does. Next is the donation of a van using policy 7310. We have a 2001 van that was purchased for just under $21,000 back in 2001. We put it up for auction because it's no longer, it reached its shelf life with us. We put it up for auction. We couldn't even get anybody to, what were we selling it for?
A little over
$800.
$800. Is the reserve price.
It's not even worth the parts.
And other items that had reserve price that didn't sell, people would reach out, hey, nobody was interested in the players or anything like that.
Yes, we're going to donate it to our fire department so they can use it for training purposes, if the board's okay with that. Letter C, this is a memorandum of understanding that corrects some language in the contract. Right now, with respect to track and field, we only pay to announce 3 major meets, which is the George Gross Invitational, which happens to be tomorrow night, the high school Cuyahoga relays, and the middle school Cuyahoga relays. But we announce for every track meet, and we need a mechanism to pay that. Announcing is an important part of track meets in order to keep a track meet's like herding cats, if you've ever been to a track meet. And I say that with a lot of endearment since I was a track and field athlete and coached it for a lot of years. I love track and field. But it's without announcing, it's kind of tough. This allows us to pay for all home track meets, not just the 3 major meets. That's what that MOU does. Next, these are the approval of FMLA for the school year. You'll just see employee's name and whether it was continuous or intermittent, and then what the start date was. It's the responsibility of our HR department, which is myself, Matt Muccio, and Kathy Martin, and George Burek, and Yelixa Rodriguez, to ensure that we're properly tracking this per federal guidelines. So this is a practice that we have not been doing that every other school district does, and so we need to start doing it. And speaking with legal counsel, so we are doing that for this. This is the bulk item here, but we're going to be doing it in real time as this happens moving forward. Do you agree, Mr. Rossi? It makes Mr. Rossi happy. Appreciate that. Letter E, this is the approval of the revised administrative assistant job description. Policy 1400 requires that the superintendent regularly evaluate job descriptions and ensure that they are up to date to the standards of the current year, but there's a contract provision in the Chase agreement that states that job descriptions can only change with action of the Board of Education, and that's why I brought it before you. So I can't just arbitrarily change a job description. It has to be for a purpose, and the Board of Education has to vet that process per that union contract. So I got a policy and then a contract that are requiring this to happen. The last time, if you look at the job description, what I've done here is I've taken, we had 5 different job descriptions, and I've put them all into a single job description. Actually, there were 6, if you count the superintendent secretary. Put them into one job description. The first time it was adopted, it was in 1977. The building level and the guidance office secretary, which they were called at the time now administrative assistants, were, the last time they were updated was 2003. So it's 23 years ago that a lot of these have been updated. The assistant superintendent was added in 2018. That position didn't exist before. And in 2026 is when you see the consolidated version. Run this by legal counsel to ensure that we are, that we've properly noted all necessary parts of a good job description.
It was already rendered then?
What's that?
You already rendered?
Yeah, and I'll be bringing another set to you at the next meeting, and that would be for our maintenance team, because I worked on those. And I'm trying to do the Chase job descriptions, updating those incrementally. Takes a little bit of time. 10A, these are supplemental contracts, so they're broken up into two groups. These are ones that are we are approving for the remainder of this school year. You have the scoring for the track meets. These people are being asked to be approved for that. Announcing scoring, and then we never approved our 3 individuals that went on the field trip to Washington, D.C. Everybody came back in the way they left, except more enriched, so that's a good thing. And then our team leader, Mrs. Stryker, is out on FMLA, and so she can't fulfill the 100% team leader duty, and so we're modifying that. She went out in February, so she was able to perform 3/4 of that duty. Mrs. Douglas will do the last quarter of that. In the other attachment, this is the start of approval for next school year. You see a lot of head coaches that are on this list. We know that we have summer camps, summer practices, open gyms, things like that. So we want to make sure we get them approved in a timely fashion. And then the others that came in are on 26, 27. The reason why I listed them separately, they're in 2 different fiscal years, and because it's based on BA Step 2, BA Step 2 of 26, 27 is different than BA Step 2 of 25, 26.
As new coaches are added, is that position is posted, or they?
All the positions have been posted for next school year.
Okay, all internally, or?
Nope.
Okay.
No, they all got posted back. George, when did we post the supplementals? March? Yeah, a couple weeks ago. It was posted in March. Yeah.
And then Mr. Garish will interview whoever's qualified, or?
People have to apply. If they don't apply, like, people can't say, hey, I want to coach. Like, that's nice. Good for you. You have to go to Applitrack and fill out an application, and then when that gets triggered, now send them an email so that we know it's in there. Because not everybody receives, like I receive notification of a new application that's filled out, but not everybody in the organization receives those. Yeah.
Do
We
we,
just
do we know for, I know volleyball went through some transition with coaching. Do we know if anyone applied
For
that volleyball?
the head coach, Mrs. Ogden, is she on there?
But I'm saying, was there anyone else, or that?
When you have internal candidates that are chat employees,
That are qualified?
they're qualified, and she's been a head coach previously, it's hard not to go with that person.
Yeah, the contract requires it, that if you have somebody who's qualified, they got good evaluations, you have no other reason to believe that they shouldn't be. That automatically goes to that person. Now, if Matt Young is a teacher and Matt Young wants to be a cheerleading advisor, and I have no cheerleading advising experience, I'm not qualified for that. So just because I'm a teacher, I don't get that. But I was a head track coach, I was a college athlete, 25 years in track and field. If I applied for it and I'm the teacher and somebody from the outside applies, I get the position. And that's the way the system is typically worked. So.
And then head coaches typically recommend their assistants, so you'd apply in the system if you want to be assistant, but you should still contact the head coach, have a discussion with him that you're interested in coaching, and they make the recommendations to Mr. Garish.
So for the JV, would that, because she,
Yeah, JV, middle school, things like that, typically go through the head coach of that program for each sport.
But if people are interested, they should reach out.
So they have to apply. So it's easier for them to apply earlier rather than the head coach. Hey, that George over here wants to coach, and we'll get them to do an application later on. So applying early is obviously easier.
just feel like there's gonna be, just based on the last season, there's gonna be parents asking about, so that's why I'm just trying to have the background for some of those questions.
We can talk more in executive
Yeah.
session. Thank you. Next is the updated substitute teacher list, which I don't believe there are any new additions to the, no, there's one newly added to that list. Under 12, this is an agreement with the ESC of Lorraine County to perform professional development on our new staff orientation day. They've been doing this for, I believe, 11 years now. We've had them come out and work with us on new staff orientation day. The cost is $950. Letter B, we had late applicants for the in lieu of transportation costs, so I'll show you that, what those agreements look like. So you can see this agreement, we can't change that $596.43 value. That's why the first motion back at the beginning of my consent agenda section says if we have that number, change it to $607. So that gets corrected automatically. But that's what the agreement looks like. And I'm going to work with Ennis Britton to give us either language here or to find out if we can actually wait till after July 1. So we don't have to do these modifications. Finally, this is the fueling system that we had approved to be replaced back in November. This is the $900 cost annually to monitor the software in a cloud-based system. That's everything I have.
Okay. Anybody have any further questions or discussion for the superintendent's items? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Ms. Pajeska?
Aye.
Mrs. Apathy?
Aye.
Mr. Rossi? Aye. Mr. Souchaki?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to section 14, board policy.
Yeah, I'll skip the comments. We've been here quite a while, and it was great to see our students here tonight. We got to get back. I know when I first came to Cuyahoga Heights, I think you used to have student recognitions more frequently and presentations during the work sessions. I think that was what I came into. And then things went a different direction pretty quickly, so I saw a couple of those when I was here in 2015. So it was good to see the students here. Maybe we can do more of that.
Yes.
For sure. 14A, so this is the first reading of a required policy. It was actually, I think, required to be in place, or the practice was required to be in place in March. But here we are in April, approving the policy really because when things become law, Neola needs a certain amount of time in order to turn around the policy. The only thing that we are changing in this policy versus our prior version of the food service policy is really nothing that we selected at all. It's just ensuring that what we're serving students is actually what we're serving students. So we're not using any type of, what's the Impossible Burger? We're not serving Impossible Burgers. We're actually serving hamburgers. No cultivated protein products, no meats, no eggs. Everything has to be exactly identified as what it is. So if it's egg, it has to actually be egg. All right, not some substitute for an egg. And if it's meat, you always wonder, I still don't know what's in a hot dog.
Nobody does.
But I know it's a culturally accepted entity, all right? But if we are going to have a hot dog, it can't be lab-grown whatever is inside that makes it taste like a hot dog. All right, so joking aside, this is just ensuring that we're properly labeling our food and students and parents know exactly what it is that we're buying and then what their students are eating. And so that was the policy. We didn't check the religious release time piece because we're going to serve kids meals regardless. Kids always get a meal if they ask for a meal. So the only thing is what they actually put there. So that's a first reading. If there's no questions, we would vote on that at the next meeting. And that's it.
I assume that applies to the students, of course, because we have had Impossible Burgers at the staff picnic at the end of the year, if I remember correctly.
I think those were bean burgers.
Was that what they were?
Vegetarian burgers.
They were not.
But we labeled them
regular
as such. They were black bean burgers.
Yes, okay. They were not regular hamburgers. That's all I
No.
remember.
Yeah, they were the black bean.
Okay.
Mr. Evans liked to buy the black.
I know I didn't eat one, but I know they were there.
Yeah. But it's not tofu, or it's not something that's lab grown.
All right, that moves us to section 15. Any board discussion, committee reports or comments? I'll just very briefly remind people that we have the Career Center All Boards Dinner on the 30th, coming up on the 30th. Everybody should have received an invitation, and I assume you've replied one way or the other. We will have our own, assuming they do it as usual, we'd all be sitting at the same table. Okay, any other items on the Career Center can wait until another meeting. Any future agenda items? Hearing none. Informational items, should be noted the Board of Education members receive their agendas several days prior to the meeting, and thus they have opportunity to study and ask questions. Regular upcoming meetings. Sorry. I'm getting a message on my hearing aids, I'm sorry. Which was difficult to talk while I was being
Getting it.
talked to. Where was I? Upcoming upcoming regular meetings, Monday, April 27th, Monday, May 11th, and Tuesday, May 26th. We have to skip Memorial Day. We're already accounting for Memorial Day. Wow, how did we catch up so fast? Okay, at this point, I will make a motion that we adjourn to executive session pursuant to RC 121-22G1 to consider employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee official, and also RC 121-22G5, matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, regulations, or state statutes. I made the motion. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Jen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Suchaki?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mrs. Abbott?
Aye.
Ms. Majeska?
Aye.
Mr. Rossi?
Motion passes 5-0. It is 8:24. We are in executive session. No action will be taken when we reconvene.